in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So, we have this breaking news. President Trump is signaling that more talks with Iran are imminent. They will be starting again soon. I knew it. I knew that walkaway wasn't permanent, wasn't meant to be taken as permanent. The pessimism with our dominant media, the pessimism about American performance, about they're so impressed by how Iran has withstood everything. No, we're beating them to a pulp. We beat them to a pulp, and the negotiations are fruitful, and I think that's great. I am pleased. I am very pleased. All right. For an expert on all this stuff that's happening with the House of Representatives and their crazy shenanigans when it comes to sex, yikes, let's bring in Congressman George Santos, ex-Congressman George Santos. And yes, he may have told a fib or two about the volleyball team, but they didn't get him on any sex scandal. And quite frankly, I don't think they should have gotten him on anything. You were a victim, sir, of a crazy, corrupt world. And I'm glad you're joining us now. Are you happier now, Congressman, that you're not a congressman?
I got to tell you, Greg, I haven't been happier in a long time. I laugh because it's almost sad, but it's poetic justice to watch. Eric Swalwell and Tony Gonzalez, two of my biggest critics, actually. I know a lot of people give credit to the New York fellows. They were just doing the political stuff, survival of politics, whatever. But these two guys went out of their way, Texas congressman and California congressman, with all these skeletons in their closets. But I have to say something, Greg. At the end of the day, it's so good when the trash takes itself out. The American people deserve better than this kind of nonsense taking place in Washington. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to your audience. I kind of enjoy it. I kind of enjoy it. It's not the magnanimous thing to say or to do, but I think it's good that the hypocrisy and the veil of all the shenanigans is falling back, and the American people now get to peek and see how absolutely subterranean Capitol Hill is.
Well, it's a human reaction. There's a name for it. It's a fancy word. Schadenfreude. You are taking pleasure in the suffering of others. And, but not suffering. I mean, this is political suffering. This is legal suffering. It's not like he's dying on the side of the road. I'm sure you'd pick him up, right? If Eric Swalwell was dying on the side of the road, begging for help, you'd help him, right?
Of course. That's the Catholic thing to do. You pick him up, you drop him off at a hospital, and you go home and you feel good about yourself.
The good about yourself. That's a very interesting observation. Someday we'll have a larger theological conversation. All right. So tell me your experience with Swalwell. He came after you. Do you have any, are you at all skeptical of these allegations, though, the timing of it right before the election? This woman says she was assaulted 8 years ago.
So let me make this clear, Greg. I know that the timing is convenient and it casts doubt on the credibility. And this is the thing that I've repeatedly said. The problem is that this isn't the new thing. Eric Swalwell's behavior and Tony Gonzalez, I'm not going to say one without the other. Both of their behavior was well known to leadership on both sides of the aisle when I was in D.C. It was known by staff. It was known by reporters. We were all whispering about it. The problem is nobody ever came forward. So at the end of the day, they were just whispers, right? This is what happened. Now, I do believe in due process. I'm not going to sit here and pontificate as if, throw the book at them without giving them due process. But to be very honest with you, I think that when you have so many credible, in Swalwell's case, because Tony Gonzalez, in fact, has already admitted to it, right? The most insane thing is that he was actually thinking he was just going to sit around and wait until, his term expired for him to go back to Texas. No. Swalwell had to happen in order for Tony to wake up, which is sad. But in the case of Swalwell, it's not coordinated. It's courage. One person comes out and it generates courage on others to do the same. And with him, it gets worse because there's more people coming out even after the fact. So I don't think it's about timing. I think it's the same thing we saw with Harvey Weinstein. Once the floodgates broke, it broke and it started pouring through. And Eric is just right now, honestly, couldn't have happened to nicer people.
What was he? I want to play this for you. This is Kevin McCarthy talking about how what you just said. Everybody kind of had an idea. Cut 18, please. Cut 18.
Every member in Congress knows not to let any young staffer get around Swalwell or Matt Gaetz. It's not a secret there.
So he was a Speaker of the House, and I'm a little bit taken aback by that. And it makes me think of you. Do you remember when Mitt Romney confronted you at the State of the Union and he tried to chew you out? And, how dare you show up here? You should go home. And I just thought to myself, wow, if Mitt Romney, for all of his status, for all of his accomplishment, for all of his, couldn't he have taken you aside? Couldn't he have met you and had coffee with you? I bet that was the first time you ever talked to him.
It's funny. It was not the first time I ever talked to him, but he would never remember that in 2012, I was a young volunteer in New York City, and I shook his hand and I took a picture with him, and I was so eager to support him for president. But obviously, he wouldn't know that. But yes, he didn't approach me like many other senators, to their credit, approached me. Tom Cotton, J.D. Vance, and a litany of them to offer me, a helping hand, guidance, and I appreciate that from the upper chamber. But when Speaker McCarthy then said those things about Swalwell, that was a tall tale. Like when you have the Speaker of the House saying this, it's incredible. But what's more remarkable is that the former Speaker of the House, Pelosi, knew this, and the former Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, and John Boehner all knew this about Swalwell. And for some bizarre reason, unbeknownst to me, nobody ever took action on it, which is crazy. Right? It doesn't make sense. And it goes back to they don't really want these things out there because it starts shedding a light on other members and it jeopardizes the party, the institution, and the credibility with the American people. That's why Congress has such a low approval rating from the American people. And I'm going to leave this with you as well. If there's smoke, there's fire. I urge authorities to look into Ruben Gallego, the senator from Arizona. Not because I just want to point fingers, but this man was his self-described best friend, roommate. They lived together on Capitol Hill for years. There's no way he can turn around and say, I didn't know any of this. You traveled with him. There's allegations that now infamous video that we've all seen to nauseam of Eric Swalwell and the sex worker. Apparently, there's allegations that Ruben Gallego is in that image. So I think a forensic auditing of the image should be had by the FBI. I think a lot of information needs to be asked and gathered from the senator of Arizona. And if he truly has nothing to hide, the most transparent thing to do is to surrender your phone and cooperate so that we know what's going on. I mean, there's now allegations coming up, Greg, of underage women being involved. So again, these are all allegations, and he is innocent until proven guilty, but nonetheless, these are very serious allegations. These are the kind of allegations that make your hair stand up. But to not be too long-winded, I just want to remind folks, the precedent of expelling somebody before they're proven guilty and convicted was changed on December 1st, 2023, when I was expelled from Congress under political pressure from members of Congress who just did not feel like the aspect of me remaining. So they went and changed precedent. So for all of those screaming due process, boo-hoo, tough luck. You were a part of changing the due process. So go ahead now and deal with it and sleep in the bed you made.
All right. Well, whoa. I totally get where you're coming from. But look, Swalwell has not been expelled. He resigned, right? And so did this other guy.
He resigned because he was going to be expelled.
He was going to be expelled.
Both were there.
Yeah, it was going to be expelled. And it was, I mean, at the time, it drove me crazy watching that guy from New Jersey. What was his name? Menendez, U.S. Senator going about his business. Hello, I'm a U.S. Senator. He's been indicted 16 times. And you hadn't been indicted. You lied about being on the volleyball team. Who cares? And they treated you like you were the most important person in the world. It was really, really wild to see. One
more, Greg, on Menendez. Menendez was convicted at trial, and Chuck Schumer allowed him to serve an additional 30 days in the U.S. Senate before he resigned. He served an entire 30 days to, quote, put his affairs in order. Such nonsense. All
right. So now that everybody knows it's crazy, dysfunctional, I want to ask you something that Tim Burchett said. Burchett, the guy from Tennessee.
Burchett, yep.
He said
buddy.
he said like a crazy, like 2/3 of the Congress. I mean, it might even be like 75% of the Congress is compromised. And he said sexually, financially, in various ways, and that basically China owns our Congress. From what you have, is that at all possible? And something tells me it just might be, but I don't know.
Yes. So I share the same belief as Congressman Tim Burchett from Tennessee. He was actually my mentor and you know, gave me a lot of guidance and taught me a lot, great dealings about how to be a congressman. And he's a dear friend. And he's not wrong. I mean, D.C. is just so putrid. The amount of people who are compromised, and I'm going to teach you, you've heard this a lot throughout the years. Oh, these members, they campaign think they're going to go stand up to the establishment, and they get there, they cave. Leadership on both sides carries opposition research on every single one of their caucus and conference members, respectively, and literally pull them into the room, drop it in front of you, and say, if you don't do this, you know, they'll be ashamed to see your entire career go up in flames. And they co-opt members of Congress. So there's political blackmail with inter-party maneuvering, but then there's also external blackmail because there's honeypots all over D.C. And these members of Congress are so arrogant, specifically the men, but not exclusively to the men, that they fall like absolute chums for every single situation. And then they become compromised. So to the extent that it's 75%, I don't know if it's that large, maybe 60, 50, 50. But the fact that China has a large influence operation on members of Congress in Washington, D.C. goes without saying. I know that because they try to gain influence with me, and I cut them really short, really.
What did they do? How did you remember? How did they try to get you?
Oh, it was, we're here for advocacy. And then they come in, it's a bunch of people. Usually none of them speak English. There's only one who does. And it's a bunch of, you know, back and forth in Mandarin, Cantonese, whatever language you're speaking. And that one person only is the one talking to you in English. Once that situation started, I said, yeah, this looks like an Arabian deal if I've ever seen one. So I started cutting them off, and then comes the invitations to dinners and we want to do a fundraiser to support you. All of these things that I just vehemently rejected and then moved on and understood the game. But so many members of Congress, the moment you say, I want to do a fundraiser for you, a lot of them become lapdogs. oh my God. They wag their tails. They get giddy. It's just so bad.
That is really something. That is really something. So look, real quick, tell me how did Tom Cotton advise you? I love that. And JD Vance, if you can, just tell us a little bit about what they did there.
Tom Cotton's staff reached out to my staff, asked for a meeting. It became a phone call. It was brief. He said, look, put your head down, and gave me literally sane, good advice. I should have followed more of it, and if I'm being completely transparent. JD Vance, I already knew JD Vance because I had hosted a fundraiser for him in my district when we were both candidates in 22. It was more so of a, like, hang in there, just like, dude, it's a mess. You got yourself into a mess, but you got to figure out what's best for you, for your family. So sane advice, good human advice, not political advice, not strategic advice, just human advice. And so appreciated. Like, I can't start to tell you how appreciative I am of them. And even Markwayne Mullins, who is now the DHS secretary, was a great guy who, when I was running, he was very supportive of me in my race. And then he became senator, and he was still a very supportive, friendly ally in the Senate. And again, and I'm blessed to say that there were gentlemen in the Senate who were willing to be, not Mitt Romney. So
how about that?
It's rewarding.
I'm pleased to hear that. Well, Congressman George Santos, I'm still going to call you that. You earned it, quite frankly. You earned it. No matter what, you earned it.
At a very high price.
Yeah, well, you're a free man, and the sky is the limit. George Santos, everybody. Where can we find you on X? You and I text. I got to find. Do you X still? Do you X a lot?
I actually am very toxically obsessed with X. I am on X. This weekend I was pretty active. If you go on there, your head will explode. But you can find me at George Santos. That's it. Very simple. At George Santos on X, Instagram. And you can also tune into my podcast on YouTube and Rumble, Doing Time with George Santos. Twice a week I drop new episodes.
What a great title. What a great title. All right, Congressman Santos, we appreciate it. Be right back, everybody.
Thank you.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And a lot of concern about my 6-year-old child because I guess I asked for it. I just thought it was amazingly cute. The situation at day camp there. She's playing tennis and having a great time, but some girl became a little bit of a bully, and it distressed her so much. And we had a little talk about it, and everything's fine. I haven't really gotten to the bottom of it. I chalk this up to these things happen, right? There are skirmishes with other kids at camp, at school. This is going to happen. You ready, Carlos? Yes, sir. She's 6 and learning how to play tennis. And then there's this bigger girl. I won't say her name. Actually, I think she does. Maybe. Well, there are a million of these girls out there. So let's go. Let's see. Saturday.
So, first of all, she made a new friend. Then she started not liking me, and then the next Saturday, which is today, all she did is fight me for the whole entire day.
Oh no, I'm sorry. How did she fight you?
She hit me. She almost made me scared. She made me scared because she was like doing.
Come back here. Come back. So, is she still a friend? What is she?
She's an enemy.
An enemy of yours? Do you think we could possibly talk to her and tell her how you feel? And maybe you guys could be friends again? Do you think that could happen? Tell me about that. What do you think we should do?
Can we ask her if she could be kind to me again?
Yes, we can. Oh, my goodness gracious. If she can be kind to me again. The children are so amazing, aren't they? And we all, I am now seeing other people, and I see other people, no matter who they are, whether they're, 90 years old, 10 years old, 50 years old, whatever. I think of them and when they were little kids and how much their parents loved them and how much God loves them. How much God loves them. And if God loves them and forgives them all their sins, we really got to cut them some slack too. Right? There's a prayer about that. We're so judgy. We're so, oh my God, that guy wronged me. Never again, never again, never again. Cut him some slack, including President Trump, by the way, in that crazy tweet.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I just going back to Norman Schwarzkopf. I'd like to know more about this blockade and how it's working and who the hell's involved and all of it. But very little information that is coming through, and that is bothering me. And just so everybody remembers, Carlos, this Stormin' Norman guy, he was all over it. And if it wasn't him, it was General Kelly. And if it wasn't him, it was Pete Williams. And if it wasn't him, it was one of their other guys. And sometimes it was Dick Cheney and Colin Powell. They did these things relentlessly. And now I got a 25-year-old girl telling me about war. 25-year-old woman, sorry. You ready? You ready with Stormin' Norman? Let me take you back to January of 1991.
I promised some of you all a few days ago that as soon as the opportunity presented itself, I would give you a complete rundown on what we were doing and, more importantly, why we were doing it, the strategy behind what we were doing. I've been asked by Secretary Cheney to do that this evening, and so if you will bear with me, we're going to go through a briefing. I apologize to the folks over here who won't be able to see the charts, but we're going to go through a complete briefing of the operation.
He's got charts, he's got maps, he's got
this
videos.
This goes back to 7 August to 17 January. As you recall, we started our deployment on the 7th of August. Basically, what we...
Stop. So he's in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. He's speaking to a room of about maybe 75 reporters. And when he's done with this, there's going to be a question and answer. And do me a favor, advance to when the questions start, all right? Because the questions are actually not bad questions. Sometimes they go too far. You don't have to answer all the questions. The media back then, strangely enough, were more responsible, it struck me, and they were more mature and more accomplished. I'm looking at them in the audience. They are just, they're more advanced. You look in the Pentagon briefing room today, they're all children. They're all working for the Daily Kos, the Daily this, the Sub this, the Substack, just these little itty bitty things. And then you'll have the New York Times in the back row. Yeah, sure. But even that person's going to be represented by some, hermaphrodite or something like that. Somebody who's so obsessed with gender that they lost the ability to even cover the Pentagon responsibly or effectively. It's something cultural happening. Cultural, it's corrupt, it's bad, and you know what's really bad? No one seems to give a damn. We're not getting any information, and everybody's just sucking it up. Okay, I guess they'll tell us when they tell us. Look at Storm and Norman taking the questions. Go ahead.
Out of them. That's the campaign to date. That's the strategy to date, and I'd now be very happy to take any questions anyone might have. Yes, sir.
I want to go back to the air war. The chart you showed there with the attrition rates of the various forces was almost the exact reverse of what most of us thought was happening. It showed the frontline troops attrited to 75% or more, and the Republican Guards, which a lot of public focus was on when we were covering the air war, attrited at less than 75. Why is that? I mean, how did it come to pass?
Put that chart up again, Roger, will you please? Let me tell you how we did this. We started off, of course, against the strategic targets, and I briefed you on that before.
Stop. That was an interesting, involved question. And if it violates national security, he has ways of handling that. The answer. And he was famous for actually kind of dodging and weaving when he had to. But at least he made the effort. They're not even making an effort. And I think there's something not right about it. And I feel a little bit like a schmuck, to be honest. I've got a lot of my MAGA friends. I guess they're still friends, but they're not MAGA. They're on President Trump's case for not mass deporting millions and millions and millions of people. Now, I'm all about getting rid of you saw what happened when we got rid of illegal alien criminals, rapists, and murderers. What do you think's going to happen when we go after, people who are here illegally? All hell will break loose. Now, you could say, well, that's no reason to not enforce the law, and we can have that discussion. But we live in the real world here. And, oh, by the way, there are big businesses that do employ illegal people. And there are small businesses that do employ illegal people. Getting them out of the country overnight ain't going to happen. Getting them out of the country in a year ain't going to happen. I wish it could, but it doesn't work that way. You saw the freaking, it was all out. And there were people, I was getting death threats for defending ICE and for defending Border Patrol when those two idiots in Minnesota got shot. Remember that? It was like the end of the world. That was about 10 times more intense than what we're seeing in Iran. Mass deportation of 10 million people. And some people are saying, well, he's not delivering on that, First of all, we're deporting like crazy. And secondly, the man secured the border. He did it. There ain't nobody coming in anymore. Hell, if he only did that, that would be one hell of a legacy. This is the real world. You got to deal with real opposition, and you got to face reality. And oh, by the way, yes, President Trump does say things in a campaign. And sometimes you say some things you want unconditional surrender. Unconditional surrender. I got other people saying, whatever happened to unconditional surrender? He's negotiating. Yeah, you ask for an unconditional surrender, and suddenly people are talking about surrender. You say mass deportation, suddenly you're talking about deportation. You ask for mass deportation, you get deportation of criminals, violent criminals. I'm happy with that. I know some of you are not happy with that. And some of you, because I think you find Trump a little bit distasteful, you're jumping a little bit too readily into the almost like it's a perverse never Trump crowd. Or maybe it's the woke right. Maybe it's all those people, Joe Kent and all the anti-war types. Suddenly anti-war. They were all about the war when they were enhancing their resumes, right? so they can come back and run for Congress or do whatever the hell it is, or show off those straps and knapsacks and backsacks and grow a beard and a tattoo and drink whiskey and have a podcast and have followers, and now go around talking about how you no war ever again. You really? Is this the new pacifist movement, for crying out loud? Yes, Mike. Hello. Is he in?
Greg, how are you?
Good.
Greg, how are you? I'm the guy that called you. Remember, I told you I got that heart scan and I needed open heart surgery a while back. I don't know if you remember. I told you I lied to my cardiologist and said I was having chest pains when I wasn't. And
I do remember that. How'd you make out?
4 weeks out of my surgery. Doing great. I feel great. I just wanted to let everybody know that back then. But let's get to Trump real quick. I think you should be more concise when he says things and does things, because that would make things a lot better for you and I and him. Like when he does things, you could take it like four. I love him, by the way, but you could take it 4 or 5 different ways. And of course, the left is going to take the wrong way and look at it the wrong way, and it just makes him look, not bad, but just it creates the issue. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not going to advise him on how to communicate. He knows how to communicate. He's doing things at a level that, quite frankly, I don't think we really understand. There are other things going on there. And if this was a screw up, if this was a genuine screw up, oops, people are going to make them every now and then. And as a friend and as a supporter, you know what I mean? I don't think it's my duty to say, oh, wait a second, he screwed that up. I tend to look at all of the things he's provided us with. And I know where you're coming from, but I'm like, so what? This country gets so upset about what people say. Forget about what, you can do almost anything. But what you say, he said that on Twitter. Yeah, it's a tweet. It's letters on a digital thing. It's nothing. So, I don't know, man. I think by the way, the effing tweet, on Easter, that was for our enemies. You're allowed to talk to our enemies that way. So, look, this is a very special time with him as president. We're never going to have anything like this again, and I'm not going to nitpick. All right? That's how I feel, Mike. But I'm glad you're better. You have any residual side effects from the open heart surgery?
Oh, Greg, the only thing that's horrible is because they had to actually cut my chest right in half, and then they wire it together. The wires stay in there. When I sneeze, Greg, I want to die right then and there. The pain is so bad.
Why didn't you do the thing with the tube? They have special catheters that can do this. They go through your genitalia area, the crotch.
Yeah, no, it couldn't be done because it was in the area, it's called the proximal area of my artery, and it had like a wicked bend in it where it was diseased.
Oh, my
And there's
goodness.
no way they couldn't. But hey, I look at it as I got a new lease on life, and something made me lie to my cardiologist.
Well, I don't. Oh gosh, you lied to your doctor. Now, why the hell are you lying to your doctor? You're taking your life in your own hands when you do that.
Greg, it saved my life, my friend, because like I said,
You didn't go to medical college.
Wait a second, Greg. I passed all my stress tests for 10 years now, right? I could run 5 miles. I don't get out of breath. But something inside of me said, they've never looked inside of me all these years. And it's a good thing I did, because the main one they call the Widowmaker, it supplies 70% of blood to your heart, was 95% obstructed.
Well, I don't know, man. I still don't think you should go to lying to your doctor. You should have just told him the truth and told him what. And if the doctor didn't accept your self-diagnosis, find another doctor. All right?
Yeah, no, but then what happens with that is no doctor, the insurance companies, they're not going to pay for it either, So
I don't know, man. I hear you. All right, so you're feeling great. That would be terrible. Don't sneeze. How do you not sneeze? Yeah, that's a tough one. Hey, I'm glad you're doing great. Thanks for checking in. I have a certain situation with my heart, by the way. I take the drugs, whether it's Lipitor or something like that. The guy showed me it. Do you know what a heart attack is? Does anybody actually understand what a heart attack is? We all kind of like, oh yeah, your heart, what? Your heart stops, your heart, what? What happens? So when you have heart disease, you got an artery, right? And let's think of the artery as a tunnel, right? You're going through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. Now let's pretend that all of a sudden in the middle of the tunnel, or throughout the tunnel, there are big lumps coming out of the ground and coming out of the roof, the ceiling of the tunnel, right? Irregular bumps, big bumps, like almost like pimples, but think of them as bumps, right? You can kind of still drive over it. Now, let's say they're really big. Forget the cars now. Let's just think about water, right? Or even let's pretend we're putting blood through there. If you eat hamburgers, the blood is very thick. It can be very chunky. You know, there's bad stuff in the blood. And what that chunky blood will do, it will burst one of those potholes wide open, right? And inside that pothole is more blood. And guess what it's going to do? It's going to coagulate. It means it's going to solidify, and it's going to go to the roof. It's going to solidify. So that is the blockage. And when a guy explained that to me, finally, and he said, you've got these lumps right in there, so you can't agitate them. Basically, forget the tunnel now. If you got a vein, or you got an artery, and you got bumps at the top and bumps at the bottom, and you eat bad food, sooner or later, one of those bumps is going to rupture. And when it ruptures, it's basically like it's bleeding. And the bleeding wants to coagulate, right? And it will coagulate all the way up to the top of the artery, blocking the entire thing. That's a heart attack right there. And when he told me like that, how does anybody ever survive one of these things? And anyway, it straightened me out somewhat nutritionally, very much when it comes to the pharmaceutical. Good luck out there. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., do not dismiss the stuff he's saying about health. He is probably, I think the man has probably saved, or he's added countless years to American lives. Countless years. His messaging, forget what he's actually doing behind the scenes legislatively, policy-wise, his recommendation about avoiding junk food, avoiding soda, avoiding sugar, calling sugar a poison, which it is adding many lives to many years to many, many, many lives, including mine. I don't think I've had one sugar today. I've had natural sugar from the 7 oranges I ate, and I feel fantastic. Be right back.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, we are back. Hey, is this phone 1 or phone 2 that we're on right now? Phone 1 or phone 2? Me. Yeah. Do you know? 1? Good. All right. Sorry about that little technical matter. That should have been handled off air, but thank you, James Flippin. We are going to get the hell out of here in a moment. I am focusing my videos for later on the whole thing about the impeachment of Donald Trump in 2019 and how we now know the truth. We've known it for a long time, but it's just becoming clearer and clearer with documents and the rest. And that whole thing about how a lie, gets around the world before the truth has a chance to get its boots on. And President Trump deserves this. We need to air this out. It's not being aired out anywhere else because, the New York Times is not doing it. The other thing, an update on the blockade, the peace talks, and a bit of frustration. And I'm going to point out the comparison between Schwarzkopf and yes, Hegseth and his people. We're not getting nearly enough information. All right, let's go through this really quick. It's, let me see. Joe, hello.
Hello, Greg. The other caller, I've had atrial fibrillation since 2011, and I do nothing. I take the drugs, I take the thinners, but I let them do the scans that they want to do. I do not do any kind of treadmill because it hurts my back and my knees.
All right, that's great, but that's not why you called, right?
Ilhan Omar.
What about her?
I called her up. I left a message, tried to leave a comment for her with one of her subordinates there on her Washington office, and I said, if she didn't do anything wrong, why don't she come out and get in front of this and tell us how you make click? Call back again, busy. They've either blocked me or whatever. This is like the third time they've done that. This is the way a congresswoman's office, they can call Donald Trump every name under the book. He stole the kid in front of him. He pulled her hair in the second grade,
what?
But she can't tell us where the money is.
All right. Well, look, hey, what the hell are you calling her office for? What practically do you think is going to happen? It's like you're making prank phone calls for crying out loud. At your age, you're making prank phone calls.
That's exactly what it is. But I'm
all right. Well, I mean, if you want, your time is too precious to be prank phone calling a congresswoman who doesn't even, you're not even in her district. If you really feel fired up about it, write a letter. All right. Nobody wants to write a letter. Everybody wants to get on the phone. It's easy to be on the phone. No one wants to write a letter. Write me a letter someday. I can't stand it. Is this Marco the good Marco or the good Marco the bad Marco?
Yeah, it's the bad Marco.
Oh, man. Yeah, him again. All right, clean slate. What is it? I don't like you calling as often as you're calling, but I'm looking for the good Marco. I guess the good Marco has gone away. He's also in New Jersey. What is it?
Yeah, you never let me finish yesterday. So the thing is, it's not about what Trump posted anymore. Like that, I really don't care about that. It's what he said afterwards. That you guys would believe that. He thinks you guys are fools, man. I really.
You know what? You know what he did? I believe somebody in his office did it, and he doesn't want to cash out somebody in his office. He doesn't want to do the easiest thing in the world to do, which is to blame the staff. All right, Marco, you're going to call up, try to call me a fool, try to call all of us who support President Trump fools? Huh? Have you ever been in the jam, Marco? You've been in plenty of jams, my understanding, right? Right. Russ, hello.
Hey, it's the good Russ. Always good Russ. Hey, Greg, you're so provocative, but, I was taught that people came to North America, religious minorities came here to escape dominant religious majorities in their country. We are not a Judeo-Christian country. We're not Islamic. But, Greg,
we are a Judeo-Christian country, and it doesn't work. This whole system will collapse, and it just might, if we don't have believers in this country. If we don't have believers, this is a Judeo-Christian country. And one of the reasons, for all this church and state crowd, right? I see these scenes of thousands of Muslims taking over the streets so they can pray. Where's the separation of church and state there? I don't hear any complaint about that. Is it Judea? You look it up. God is mentioned in the Constitution. God is mentioned in the Declaration of Independence. God. Our rights don't come from government, baby. They come from God. They just facilitate certain things. What is it? What?
You're talking about Schwarzkopf. It reminds me of General Shoot Him in the Back, Barry McCaffrey. Now, were you anti-war for that war or Gulf War I or 3 million dead?
What do you mean about Shoot Him in the Back, McCaffrey? Are you talking about the Highway of Death?
Right. I'm glad you have a good memory.
Are you talking about the Highway of Death? Because that thing's been mischaracterized. A good buddy of mine, by the way. Well... He didn't die on the Highway of Death. That's all I'll say. Yeah, I know. War is hell. War is hell. That's why you only fight it when you absolutely have to. And I believe Iran was necessary, and so is that war, in answer to your question.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?